Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another detail. You can see our next project is right here behind me, just got dropped off, 1968 Camaro. So I ran into this customer a few days ago. I was at a local car show and my brother did some work on this. C-Pop's Auto Shop, check him out if you're in the area. This is an LS swapped car and he put a Pro Charger on it for him. Got the car up and running, and now that it's running good, he's ready to make it look good. Car was painted a few years ago, but it was never really gone over and perfected. So I'll be zooming in on the paint so you can take a look at it and see what I'm gonna be working with. But the hood is just primered, so we don't have to worry about that. Stripe that runs over the roof onto the trunk lid. So really, we're just gonna be going down the sides of this car, trunk lid, a little bit on the roof, but it does need some work. It definitely needs some loving, and I'm gonna show you what the paint looks like right now. It's kind of a tough color to pick up here, but you can see that there is a lot of marks that are on the paint, and shining the light on it doesn't really do it any justice in here. It's kind of hard to pick up on all the surface scratches that are in it, and it just hasn't been gone over and, you know, completely buffed out after it was painted. The other thing is, when you rub your hand on the paint here, I mean, you could hear it, but to me, it feels like sandpaper. It's pretty rough, so it's going to need, we'll do a full decon on it and clay bar. That might just be overspray that's on there, but it's got some water spots back here on the trunk lid. See as the light passes over them, and a lot of little brush marks and things that are in there, along with the swirls. You can see there's a lot of swirls that are happening around this area as the camera focuses. But yeah, so we're gonna get this thing washed and do our regular routine, just figure out what kind of pads and compounds we're going to wind up using on this car. But it definitely needs some loving, and as I said to the customer, as we were standing there at the car show, you can see a lot of the swirl marks that are in there. Even if we could just get the swirl marks out, there's some stuff in the paint. There's some dust nibs. There's one right there. Right there. So there's a few of those throughout the vehicle. I'll try to denib those and work on getting some of this stuff out. You can see some there right behind the side rear window. So we'll get this paint looking a lot better, and then we are putting the 2-year Jade ice ceramic coating on here. Originally it was just coming in to get polished and a coat of sealant on it, but I had 2 other vehicles here, actually 3 other vehicles here that were ceramic coated, and I was telling him how things hold up as long as you take care of it. On a vehicle like this, it's going to be garage kept. It's only out in nice weather. It's taken care of, so he'll be able to maintain this. If not, he doesn't live too far from me, and he could always bring it back, and I could go over it for him if we need to get it washed up or something. Yeah, we got our work cut out for us on this paint. Kind of thankful that the hood's not painted. A little less work for me to do. But regardless, it's still going to take a lot of time to get this paint perfected before we do put the ceramic coating on there. So I'm here. It's quiet and really, really smooth. And then when I move over to this area, it feels rough. So I don't know if that is something that's on the surface, like overspray. We're gonna find out after we get it washed and clayed. That spot right there, it's kind of hard to see in the camera, but there's a big scuff mark right here. Those things stand out to the eye as you're looking at the car, especially when it's outside in natural sunlight. But I think just a good polish and the ceramic coating on here, we're probably gonna go over the wheels a little bit, get those polished out and cleaned up nice, and we'll even probably put a little coating on those wheel woods just to make those a little bit easier to clean. So that's the plan. I'm gonna show you what the rest of the car looks like with the lights on, and that way you can see some of the imperfections in the paint. And then we're gonna get to working on this, go around it, wash it, clay it, decon it, and then figure out what our method is going to be to get this paint as perfect as possible. So I got the car all cleaned up and went over all the painted surfaces with a clay mitt. And I just used a quick detailer spray, but it made a huge difference on the slickness of the paint. If you remember earlier in the video, I ran my hand across the roof over here and it felt like sandpaper. It even sounded like my hand running across sandpaper. But that's all gone, so I'm guessing it was an overspray of something that was on the roof. But I'll just run my hand over it now. We don't hear anything. It's smooth as glass actually, and the tops of the fenders were pretty bad, but that's definitely smooth now. So now we're down to just working out all the fine scratches that are in the paint. And I did a test spot. I went ahead and put some yellow tape in areas where I found some dust nibs, so I could knock that out with some sandpaper and then continue buffing around the car. I did a test spot on the rear quarter over here. And I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, and there we go. So the rear quarter, I went over that with a blue Lake Country HDO pad and a combo of 3D1 and Meguiar's 105 on the same pad. And that's knocking everything out. Everything's really light in the paint. The paint's really easy to work with. So I think this correction is gonna go pretty quick, but I am gonna do some de-nibbing of the dust that's in the paint and some of the clear, and then continue with the polishing process. So just really light with some 2000 grit, and when I come over that with some compound, it should just knock that right out. I don't need to go super crazy, but there were 4 little spots there that are basically gone. We'll just take care of this little guy right here. You can see that pretty good with the camera shining on it. That one's pretty noticeable. And I can feel it as I run the sandpaper over it, but we're just gonna smooth that out. And make sure it's all nice and level. Just a little bit left of that. Smooth the rest of this out. I'm not using a lot of pressure either, just kind of letting the sandpaper run over the surface. I'm not trying to dig into the paint, I'm just smoothing out the surface, just knocking out that nib. And now we're nice and smooth, so that'll polish out nice and you'll not even ever know that it was there. 2 smaller spots here, one right above this emblem. Very small little piece of dust in the paint. Let's work that one out. Looks good. And then there's one up here on top of the fender. Actually a smaller one next to it too that I didn't see when I went around. We'll fix that up too while we're here. There we go. And then the only other one I saw was right here, very small. Nothing really big, but you could definitely catch it if you're walking by looking at the paint. Right here. got that. Just about. Let's go over it real quick here. There we go. I'll just bring you in on this one. You can see with the light shining on it, nice and smooth. So all it needs is just a polish. So we're just going to continue to move down. This looks way better than that. I already did the bottom half of the door. Just need to work down the top of the door, the fender, and then head over to the other side and just small pieces on the roof, and we'll have this thing ready to go. Larger scuff that was in this area. It's still there just a little bit, but when I first got the car cleaned off and went around just checking things over, this was a pretty big area that something looked like it brushed it this way. So obviously the first line of defense is just go over with compound and a pad, the least aggressive, and then work your way up. So I did knock out a majority of it, but it's still there, and it's still kind of noticeable with the light shining on it. It's kind of hard to see in the camera, but in this area right here is where those scratches are. So what I'm going to do is just use the same sandpaper that I use for those dust nibs. I'm just going to go over with some 2000 grit and just try to level out this area, and then come back again with the Meguiar's 105 and just try to level that area out and get rid of some of the bigger areas that are in here. There are two spots. There's one there, and I'm sure you can't really see it in the camera. There's one here and one right here that's a little bit deeper, and my fingernail kind of catches on it. But there are others that are really just in the clear that I want to try to level out. So that's what we're going to work on now. Again, I'm not going to go crazy with pressure. It's very light, working over this to level it out. I'll just make a few passes and then I'll wipe it off, let it dry, and I'll be able to see if any of those scratches are still in the clear. Just squeegee that off. A little bit more. Hit it with some polish and we'll see how it looks. So that's a huge improvement. Even those deeper ones that my fingernail was catching on are a little bit less noticeable, and a lot of the scratches that were moving up and down this way are kind of gone, or at least less noticeable. We want to dig too much into the paint, but I think that's gonna be perfect for us here. paint all prepped, polished. It went way quicker than what I originally anticipated, and I think it's just because I didn't have to do the hood or the middle of the roof or the trunk lid where the stripes are. So it just kind of moved pretty quickly as I just had to go down the sides. We did de-nibbed any dust that was stuck in the clear. There were a few spots that I had to come back to that I didn't see originally. So knocked out all the nibs and polished the paint. It looks way better than it did before. I'm super happy with the outcome so far of how it's looking. We're just about out of time for today. So this is like a 2-day project this is turning into, just because today was a little bit busier than expected. I booked a car and then totally forgot to write it down on my calendar. And next thing you know, a car shows up. So we had an extra vehicle to work on today, and I didn't get enough time to work on this. But I don't want to rush things, so took my time, finished out the paint for today. Tomorrow I'll get in there and I just have to polish the lip of the wheels and maybe that piece down the bottom of the rockers, just get that prepped, and then it'll be ready for coating. So we'll see you tomorrow. All right, day 2 on the 68 Camaro. We're back at it. I'm gonna get this thing wiped down with the prep spray and then ceramic coated. Like I mentioned earlier, we're gonna use the Jade Ice ceramic coating. That's rated at a 2-year coating. And this is gonna go on all the paint, the windows, and the wheels, some trim around the car, and this thing will be ready to go. I'm not gonna go through the whole process with you. I've showed you how to do the ceramic coating in various videos. So just get this thing coated and then I will show you the final product, and this thing will be out the door ready to go back to its owner. All right, so I got this car outside. Everything looks good, and it's ready to go back to the owner. It looks great out here in the sun. You can see that the reflection looks awesome. Big difference compared to what it looked like before. Like I said, I ran into him at a car show, and the sun was shining on, and you could see all the swirl marks and the small scratches that were in the surface. But right now, it looks pretty awesome. So, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for all your subscriptions. Thanks for your comments down below and your likes. Keep them coming. Any questions, any concerns, or if you got a comment about this car, put it down below. We'll see you on the next one, guys. Thanks.